Chapter 7. Passing now to the faculty of growth, let us first mention that this too is present in the fetus in utero, as is also the nutritive faculty, but that at that stage these two faculties are, as it were, handmaids to those already mentioned, and do not possess in themselves supreme authority. When, however, the animal has attained its complete size, then, during the whole period following its birth, and until the acme is reached, the faculty of growth is predominant, while the alterative and nutritive faculties are accessory in fact, act as its handmaids. What then is the property of this faculty of growth? To extend in every direction that which has already come into existence, that is to say, the solid parts of the body, the arteries, veins, nerves, bones, cartilages, membranes, ligaments, and the various coats which we have just called elementary, homogeneous, and simple. And I shall state in what way they gain this extension in every direction, first giving an illustration for the sake of clearness. Children take the bladders of pigs, fill them with air, and then rub them on ashes near the fire so as to warm, but not to injure them. This is a common game in the district of Ionia and among not a few other nations. As they rub, they sing songs to a certain measure, time, and rhythm, and all their words are an exhortation to the bladder to increase in size. When it appears to them fairly well distended, they again blow air into it and expand it further. Then they rub it again. This they do several times until the bladder seems to them to have become large enough. Now, clearly, in these doings of the children, the more the interior cavity of the bladder increases in size, the thinner necessarily does its substance become. But if the children were able to bring nourishment to this thin part, then they would make the bladder big in the same way that nature does. As it is, however, they cannot do what nature does, for to imitate this is beyond the power not only of children, but of anyone soever. It is a property of nature alone. It will now therefore be clear to you that nutrition is a necessity for growing things. For if such bodies were distended but not at the same time nourished, they would take on a false appearance of growth, not a true growth. And further, to be distended in all directions belongs only to bodies whose growth is directed by nature. For those which are distended by us undergo this distension in one direction, but grow less in the others. It is impossible to find a body which will remain entire and not be torn through whilst we stretch it in the 3 dimensions. Thus, nature alone has the power to expand a body in all directions, so that it remains unruptured and preserves completely its previous form. Such, then, is growth, and it cannot occur without the nutriment which flows to the part and is worked up into it. Chapter 8. We have, then, it seems, arrived at the subject of nutrition, which is the third and remaining consideration which we proposed at the outset. For when the matter which flows to each part of the body in the form of nutriment is being worked up into it, this activity is nutrition, and its cause is the nutritive faculty. Of course, the kind of activity here involved is also an alteration, but not an alteration like that occurring at the stage of genesis. For in the latter case, something comes into existence which did not exist previously, while in nutrition, the inflowing material becomes assimilated to that which has already come into existence. Therefore, the former kind of alteration has with reason been termed genesis, and the latter, assimilation. Chapter 9. Now, since the 3 faculties of nature have been exhaustively dealt with, and the animal would appear not to need any others, being possessed of the means for growing, for attaining completion, and for maintaining itself as long a time as possible, this treatise might seem to be already complete, and to constitute an exposition of all the faculties of nature. If, however, one considers that it has not yet touched upon any of the parts of the animal, I mean the stomach, intestines, liver, and the like, and that it has not dealt with the faculties resident in these, it will seem as though merely a kind of introduction had been given to the practical parts of our teaching. For the whole matter is as follows. Genesis, growth, and nutrition are the first and, so to say, the principal effects of nature. Similarly, also the faculties which produce these effects. The first faculties are 3 in number, and are the most dominating of all. But as has already been shown, these need the service both of each other and of yet different faculties, Now these which the faculties of generation and growth require have been stated. I shall now say what ones the nutritive faculty requires.